Okay, so I'm in a little Mazda Miata. I'm finally selling the old car. Tammany, Tosin. We're saying goodbye to our old Miata. She's got lots of troubles and some kid wants to buy it and fix it up. And Tammy's tired of having it around. And mice just want to live in it. And so, goodbye old friend. We bought it off the side of the road, I think in Welling, Alberta, when my kids were young. And when they were teenagers, we put a new top on it, we did the brakes, and we just didn't use it a lot. I put new wider tires on it because that's what teenage dads do. So just saying goodbye to the old Miata. Anyway, so we're out getting things ready for moving the cows, and I was just talking to my brother the other day. He's a doctor in Tabor. Anyway, so he's telling me a story the other night. He was up late, way after midnight, and he's doing some rounds at the hospital, checking on his patients, and oh, it's bumpy in through here. Wow. And he thought, well, I'll just go around and just check on all my patients one last time before I head home. And that's probably, I think he said it was around 2 a.m. So he was running around the hospital checking on things, and he was looking at the charts on one of his patients, and he realized he'd forgotten to write something down, something related to a medication. So he reached into his pocket and he pulled out a rectal thermometer. And he's like, oh shoot, some bum's got my pen. Okay, that's a joke too. It's a joke, it didn't actually happen. It's a joke. Thanks for coming along. All right, Farmer Dave here. I was just out checking dugouts for cows, and now I'm browning butter. So you melt the butter in the saucepan. I have mine on a super high heat power boil. Tammy just made a cherry pie. So, but once you get it melted and you get it boiling, it steams like crazy at first, and now look at that, the steam just stopped. So now all the water has been boiled out of the butter, and then I have to stir it. Ooh, look at that, it's already turning brown on the bottom. On power boil, it happens super fast. So now I pull it off the heat. Wow, I had that on screaming hot, and so now it's brown. It's amazing. We use it on vegetables and seafood, and I'm using it in a few things here today. So I got to use it in my, that's exciting. This is for, I'm smoking a brisket, and so I needed some butter for the stuff that I based. Now I'm going to pour the rest. It's good to get it out of the pan and get it into something cooler so it doesn't burn.
Continues to brown.
It'll continue to brown. So ooh, that was right on the line. But when it's brown like that, oh, it tastes fantastic. So I hope you got that. Melt it, stir it rapidly. And like I said, you don't have to do it on that hot. Like that took only a couple of, I don't know, not much more than a minute to do it. But if you do it on lower heat, it's not quite as exciting, but a little easier to manage. Talk to you later. Okay, so I'm going out to the backyard to the smoker. I'm not much of a barbecue guy or a smoker guy, but I did get one last summer. And so I've got the brisket. It's been cooking for several hours. Get these hot things out of here. So now it's had the spice rub on it, all that, and it's been smoking for a few hours. Now we're gonna cover it in fluids, seal it, wrap it up, and then smoke it for another 2 or 3 hours. So this is very exciting. Excited to taste that. I always add, doesn't matter what the recipe says, I always add cayenne pepper. Love the spice. Okay, now we'll take this inside and see what we can figure out. I spiced it, And now we'll baste it with all these fluids. There's beef stock in there, there's ginger ale in there, there's the melted, well, I use the brown butter. And what else was there? Oh, apple cider vinegar. And we'll wrap it up, put it back on the smoker. I'm here working on this water trough. But whenever I'm doing, you know, fixing things mechanical, it makes me think of my brother Spencer. He's a mechanical engineer in Medicine Hat. So he designs the lighting, the heating, the air conditioning, the ventilation, everything mechanical about buildings. And so just so it doesn't seem morbid, I will tell you that this is a joke ahead of time. So Spencer has a tragic accident and he passes away. And he gets to the pearly gates, and of course, as we all know, St. Peter's there. And St. Peter's waiting for him there. But, you know, he looks at his papers, you know, he's like, oh, Spencer, let me just look you up. And I'm just getting the caulking ready to go here. And he looked through the papers and he couldn't find Spencer on the list. He's like, I've not seen you on the list. And I'm not allowed to let anybody into heaven unless they're on the list. And so there's an elevator there that sends the people that don't make the list down to hell, of course. And so St. Peter puts him in the elevator and pushes the button, and it's quite a ride, like a rocket going down. And Spencer hits the bottom, and you know, they open the elevator, and there he is in the underworld. And but it was nasty down there. It was hot. Of course it was hot. It's hell, right? Like, it's hot. And it was dark and terrible ventilation. Like, it just stunk down there. And so the lighting was terrible. Everything was terrible. So Spencer was like, well, this is kind of intolerable. And so, you know, he started fixing things up. He got a purchase order and got the materials, and he installed ventilation. He got some lights in there, and, you know, air conditioning. And man, he just really improved the situation down there. And so meanwhile, up in heaven, the month end comes, and St. Peter and God are there at the end of the month, reviewing all the documentation, making sure everything's in order. And as they're going through, they realize that, you know, God's like, you know, I see Spencer Torrie here on the list, and I haven't seen him yet. Like, I haven't had my interview with him or anything. And St. Peter is like, oh my goodness, what have I done? You know, I totally missed him on the list. I didn't see him on the list, and so, you know, I sent him to hell. And God's like, well, obviously this is not going to do. This is terrible. What a terrible mistake. Even to spend, you know, a few weeks down there would be horrible. So, you know, he picks up the phone and he calls down to Satan. And Satan picks up the phone, and God says, you know, we've made a terrible mistake. Spencer Torrie was supposed to, you know, have arrived here in heaven a few weeks ago, and they missed his name on the list, and they sent him down to you. And so we, you know, just want you to, you know, put him in the elevator and send him up here. He's totally acceptable and should be sent to heaven. And Satan says, well, you know, that's a funny thing. You know, ever since Spencer's been here, things have, like, improved dramatically. Like, we've got lights, we've got ventilation. It doesn't stink anymore down here. We even have air conditioning. Like, it's not even hot here anymore. And so no, you know, thinking about it, we're not going to send Spencer back. Like, he's incredibly valuable to us. Uh-oh, what did I drop in the water? Is that a frog? I'll have to check that out. Something splashing in the water here. But so now you know, God, of course, doesn't, you know, isn't used to people saying, you know, no to him or back talking to him. So he kind of, like, he lost his temper a little bit, and he kind of, you know, yelled into the phone. He's like, now, Satan, you put Spencer in that elevator right now and send him up here, or I will sue. And there's a bit of a pause there, and Satan just starts laughing out loud, just a full belly laugh. He's just laughing like crazy. And God says, well, what is so funny? And Satan said, where are you going to get a lawyer? So, there, that's a joke. And I have some really good friends that are lawyers, but I have heard some good farmer jokes from them too. So it's, you know, it's just a fair trade. Talk to you later.